In the chaos of battle, where every decision could be a matter of life or death, one question remains. Why do some soldiers stay calm when everything else is falling apart? In the midst of gunfire, explosions, and confusion, they remain composed. But their calmness isn't instinct. It's a system, a mental process honed to override panic and sharpen focus in the most extreme situations. This is the secret behind military decision-making psychology, the ability to make precise, rational decisions under the highest stress. In 2017, a special forces unit was deep inside enemy territory, surrounded on three sides by hostile forces. The radio was dead, night was falling, and their exit route was blocked. In this split second, the team's commander had a decision to make: retreat and risk more casualties, or press forward into unknown territory and hope for a miracle. While his team members felt the rising panic in their chests, the commander remained still. His breathing slowed. His eyes scanned the battlefield with methodical focus. He wasn't immune to fear. He was trained to process it. And within moments, he made his decision. The team moved forward. The operation was a success. They walked out of danger not because of luck, but because of the mental process that allowed him to think clearly when most people would have been paralyzed by fear. In the military, decision-making is more than just a skill. It's a mental system. In high-stress situations, the brain doesn't think the way it normally does. Fear, adrenaline, and panic flood the mind, narrowing focus and pushing the body into fight-or-flight mode. Most people freeze or make reactive decisions, but soldiers are trained to do the opposite. They are taught to make decisions from a place of control, not chaos. This system matters because in war, the price of a wrong decision is high. The military teaches that calmness is not a trait you're born with. It's a skill you develop through repetition, practice, and mental conditioning. Inside military command centers, the pressure is constant. Maps glow with shifting positions. Radar scans the skies for incoming threats. Intel reports change minute by minute. And in the field, soldiers experience these pressures firsthand. Psychologists studying military decision-making have identified something called cognitive overload. This is what happens when the brain is flooded with too much information, too fast, forcing it to narrow focus in ways that can make it harder to make effective decisions. But the military trains its leaders to avoid cognitive overload. Instead of reacting emotionally, they are taught to use mental triage, filtering out distractions, sorting through critical information, and acting with clarity. It's not that soldiers aren't under pressure, it's that they know how to operate under pressure. This ability to filter chaos is what allows them to make decisions where others might panic. As the pressure mounts, the body reacts. Heart rates spike, breathing becomes shallow. The mind floods with racing thoughts, and with each second, the stakes get higher. This is the point where most people would break, where decisions are made in the heat of the moment without full thought, and where panic can cloud judgment. But military leaders have been trained to recognize this moment as a signal, not a threat. Instead of rushing in fear, they've learned to take control of their emotions. They've learned to slow the process down, even if only for a few seconds, to reset their mind. In those moments, when time seems to slow down and the world speeds up, soldiers use a mental technique designed to interrupt the panic cycle and bring the mind back to a state of control. The system used by military commanders is called the Decision Control Protocol, DCP. It is a series of mental steps that soldiers take in high-pressure situations to override fear and focus their minds on immediate, actionable steps. Recognize the signal. The first step is recognizing when fear begins to take over the mind. This might feel like a racing heartbeat, a tight chest, or scattered thoughts. Pause the reaction. Soldiers are trained to take a single deep breath to interrupt the panic cycle. This slows the heart rate and brings the brain back to clarity. Identify the priority. Once fear is paused, soldiers are taught to identify what needs attention first. They break down the situation into small, manageable parts. Decide and act. The final step is to make a decision based on the most important piece of information, not based on emotion or fear. Soldiers focus on the next actionable step, not on the entire outcome. This technique is so ingrained in military training that it becomes automatic, allowing soldiers to make decisions in split seconds without getting overwhelmed by stress. The psychology behind military decision-making is rooted in how the brain responds to stress. When under pressure, the body releases adrenaline and cortisol, which can narrow focus and increase fear. The brain enters a state known as cognitive narrowing, where only the most immediate threats are processed. While this is useful in a fight-or-flight scenario, it's less effective when you need to think critically under pressure. The military's training system works by widening the brain's focus, teaching the mind to process more information and make deliberate, clear decisions even in high-stress situations. By practicing decision-making in controlled environments, such as simulations or high-pressure training, the brain becomes rewired to respond to stress without panic. Over time, these reactions become automatic, enabling soldiers to think clearly even in the most chaotic situations. A former Army officer described an intense firefight in a narrow valley, where his platoon was surrounded by enemy forces. The decision to retreat or push forward had to be made in moments. His squad was pinned down, and the enemy was getting closer. In this moment, fear surged through his body. He felt the weight of his decisions pressing down. But instead of succumbing to fear, he used the decision control protocol. He slowed his breath. He focused on the immediate options: evacuate the wounded or hold ground. He quickly assessed the terrain, the enemy's position, and the available resources. His decision was made: hold position and prepare to counterattack. His team followed his orders without hesitation, and they successfully repelled the enemy threat, suffering no casualties. Afterward, he said it wasn't just his training that saved them. It was his ability to stay calm enough to think and act decisively in a moment of chaos. The ability to make decisions under stress is not limited to the battlefield. In everyday life, we face decisions under pressure all the time. Work deadlines, family conflicts, financial challenges. The same techniques that military leaders use can be applied to personal situations. The key is to recognize when stress begins to overwhelm, pause, breathe, and focus on the most immediate, actionable step. Instead of reacting emotionally, train your brain to respond logically. By practicing these techniques in small, everyday situations, anyone can build the mental strength to make clearer decisions in times of crisis. Decision-making under pressure is not about avoiding fear. It is about understanding it, mastering it, and using it to fuel your clarity. The military teaches that in moments of chaos, the strongest decision-makers are not those who act without fear, but those who can think while fear surrounds them. This is the true power of military decision-making psychology, a system that trains the brain to not just survive stress, but to thrive in it. The decision control protocol is only one technique in the military's vast mental toolbox. There are deeper systems that help soldiers not just manage stress, but use it as a weapon to make rapid, precise decisions. In the next episode, we explore the most powerful technique soldiers use to maintain clarity under fire, a technique that turns panic into perfect decision-making.